I was to tell somebody like what order to read things in, read Practical Law of Attraction first, but then you want to, get into the My Cat's Secret, because that's really going to fill in a little bit of the missing feminine energy. Even though he's a male cat, he has a lot, a lot of feminine energy that he brings to the table.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Becoming More Me. I'm really excited to introduce you to Victoria Gallagher today. Victoria is a worldwide leader in hypnotherapy, a best-selling author, international speaker, life success coach, and renowned authority on the law of attraction. She has dedicated her life to empowering people all over the world to successfully live a life of liberty, aligned with their dreams through her effective meditative recordings and online courses. Through her podcast, The Power of Your Mind, she exudes her passion for inspiring listeners with influential guests in the areas of self-development, mindset, discipline and habits, entrepreneurship, wealth, and relationships. I feel like Victoria and I share a lot of interests and things, so I'm really excited to geek out on things together today. Welcome, Victoria.
Hello, Teresa. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I love that introduction. It's kind of like a culmination of like, it's all come together, like why I do what I do.
Isn't that the best feeling? Because
It
I
really
don't know if your
is.
story is at all like mine, but it took a little while for things to come together for me. And I'd
Oh
love
my
to hear a
goodness.
little
I
bit
mean,
about how it came together for you.
yeah, and they're still coming together. It's like it's like, you have moments like I think, when you get to a certain level in your career, and then it's like boom, it's like I'm ready to do this and that, and then you're waiting kind of to get yourself together for that next episode of your life. So I think if you're just continuing to grow and expand, you're always coming together.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I named my business Becoming More Me and my podcast too, because I think it's a continual process that we never are through with. And it's always kind of fun to see what the next level has in store.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I think it's really good to keep that perspective, to always kind of realize like, well, any of the challenges that you're ever facing, you got to like really look at like, well, where am I now? And, and have the gratitude for all the things that you already are and that you already have become, such that this would even be a challenge that you would be taking on in the first place.
Oh, I love that perspective. That's awesome. Would you mind starting with just telling us some candid special things about you, like where you live, how you like to spend your time, what your life is like on a day-to-day basis?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, let's see. Well, first off, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Been here for about 7 years. I guess, yes, working on about 7 years. I've actually lived on all corners of the United States.
Neat.
I grew up well, let's see. I was born in LA. I grew up in Washington State, moved back to LA, kind of realized that wasn't for me. Spent a lot of time in Las Vegas, which is where I met my now husband. Then we moved back to the East Coast. We lived in Virginia for about a year. Then we moved to Florida, and we spent about 10 years there before moving here. So I've lived a lot of places. This is definitely my favorite place. It's been threatened a couple times that we might, my husband seems to like to move a little bit more than I do. But it's like I've made it clear this last time around that like we're not going anywhere. We're staying right where we are.
Oh
We just
yeah. I think
we
every
love
time I
living
move, it's
here.
like, yeah, this is it for at least a while until I forget how bad it is. When how bad
Exactly.
the moving
And,
is.
I love to hike. That's one of my favorite hobbies. And I mean, the hiking here in Arizona is outstanding.
I'll bet.
And so that's how I spend most of my days. I get out and spend, at least an hour out in the sun. And I spend my mornings, doing my morning routine, having my coffee, meditating, journaling, just getting myself ready for the day. I love reading all kinds of personal growth, spiritual self-help type of books. I've been doing that pretty much since I was 18.
Me
And
too. I refer to myself as a personal development junkie.
yeah, and so it's interesting because I do spend a lot of my day working because it's like there isn't like a real clear line between am I working or am I just enjoying myself?
Yeah. I can understand that too. I'm curious because, we share like the hypnotherapy piece of things and the law of attraction piece of things. And, with hypnotherapy being kind of a sleep of the nervous system and a regulatory tool of its own, did you find that it was easier to implement all of that personal development and self-help after you started doing hypnotherapy?
Yeah, definitely. I
I felt like
mean,
I was up against a wall with so many things. It was like I could absorb all the information logically, consciously, I could get it. And then it was like, why can't I do it?
Well, but, it's because the subconscious mind just blocks us from being able to really penetrate those old routines and those old habits and those old thought processes and ways of doing things. And so, yeah, I mean, you absolutely have to. It's no question that, it definitely gets easier when you start actually doing the mental work of, getting your subconscious mind on board with what it is that you're wanting to do. But I will say this, for me, they kind of went hand in hand
Yes.
because I really like my initial entryway into personal development was when I was 18. And then it kind of took a little hiatus. And then when I got into becoming a stockbroker, that's when kind of the rubber met the road, or whatever the expression is, where I just found myself at a breaking point where I couldn't seem to get myself motivated anymore to continue pursuing that. I kind of lost my drive and my passion. I couldn't really get out of bed in the morning. Was having a lot of anxiety. And so that's when it was recommended to me. I started seeing a therapist, and the therapist recommended that I go to this personal growth seminar. And so in that seminar, that's where I really got back into, the subconscious mind, because we did a lot of closed eye techniques and things like that during the seminar. So, my love for personal growth and my love for doing hypnosis kind of started almost simultaneously,
Yeah.
during that seminar. And so that's when I decided I was going to pursue becoming a hypnotherapist, and, kind of like kissed my job goodbye and went on my merry way.
And what was that like for you, switching from one totally different career into another?
It was that's part of my story. So, right after when I became a hypnotherapist, I decided, to just put one foot in front of the other and open up an office. And so I opened up an office. And when I did that, I needed a business license. And so I got a business license. And when I got the business license, my branch manager, where I was working as a stockbroker, they were doing a big background check on me. And so he got the paperwork for that, and he calls me into his office and he says, "What's this all about? And, are you moonlighting?" And he told me that it was a conflict of interest and I couldn't do that. And so by this time, this was a few months into really just pursuing this. And I opened up an office, signed a contract on an office, signed a contract on Yellow Pages ads here and ads there. All of the
Really
stuff,
went
I was
for it.
like, I really was going for it. And so he gives me an ultimatum and says, "You have 30 days to decide." Here I was making a six-figure income on this end of the spectrum. And he gives me an ultimatum. And on the other end of the spectrum, I'm making no money
So it's not a
actually.
six-figure income yet, probably.
It's like it's a negative income because I've got all these expenses
Yeah.
now, and not any clients yet, to justify the cost, because I just kind of thought I was going to be able to bide my time and just, build up my business, and then one day, when I built up my business enough, I'd be able to quit my job. But I had to quit with no income and nothing to support me, and just really just jumped in with both feet. So it was a different kind of start than I was really imagining. And it really sent me into a little bit of a fight or flight response, because, here I was still kind of a babe in the woods, with this whole personal growth and, really getting my mindset. Like, I got my mindset to a certain point where, okay, well, at least I have the courage and the guts and the
Yeah.
confidence and the motivation to, start this thing and quit my job. But I did not have it deeply integrated enough to where, I was able to just manifest money.
Right. You weren't like reaping the rewards or the return on investment of all of that at that point.
Exactly. So I went through I went into a little bit of a, fight or flight response, where I was just working, 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 and forgot all about doing any kind of mind work. And so one day, kind of like as everything was just kind of crashing down on me, I kind of realized, wow, what here I am. I'm teaching people about using the power of your mind to do whatever you want. And I am sitting here working hard, and I don't have time to do the mental work. And so that was sort of a little in your face moment for me. And I kind of realized I need to take my own medicine, and I need to actually start to program your mind. So you're absolutely right that, what we coming back around full circle, when I was really trying to do it through just conscious willing it to happen and conscious efforting, and just sheer willpower, I was falling apart. And as soon as I got this like little wake up call, it was almost like I got a download from the universe saying, take your own medicine. You need to
Right.
actually do this. As soon as I did that, like all of a sudden ideas started flowing to me, and I started like I actually started making my business successful
Yeah.
within, a few months after like just finally doing the work that I needed to do. So it was an interesting beginning. It really taught me like it was like, I was really thrown into the deep end and really thrown into like a sink or swim situation. And so it really taught me that, like, yes, without getting the power of the mind on your side, this is what can happen.
Yeah.
And when you do get the power of your mind on your side, then this is what can happen.
Yeah. Also, the difference in sink or swim when you're, hustle, strive, and you're trying to swim upstream, realizing like when you understand the law of attraction that nothing that you want is actually in that direction, and then allowing yourself to kind of turn around and go with the flow and allow the things to manifest in the way that like they can beautifully do that when you allow them to. That's
Exactly.
awesome.
Exactly. It's so true. And it was such a good lesson. And it really, really, like, I feel like so many of these things that happen like that in our lives. I mean, they're there to teach us, not only for ourselves, but so that we can identify that in the people that need our help, and that, you can like easily see like, yep, this is exactly what they're doing. And, and I can help them
Right.
to identify that and to see that for themselves.
So at what point did you start incorporating like law of attraction into your work or your writing?
So, kind of to give you a little timeline, and I knew about the law of attraction, from way back, even when I was 18. I kind of knew it was talked about a little bit in some of these early books that I was reading, like Total Self Confidence and Think and Grow Rich, and
Yeah.
some of those early books, but I wasn't really applying it yet. Like, I wasn't really putting it to the test. That I became a hypnotherapist in 1999. And at that time, again, I sort of knew the principles and a lot of the recordings that I was making. I would talk a little bit about like attracts like, and raising your vibration. And I would incorporate a little bit of that into my recordings. But again, I wasn't really like completely committed to this whole idea and premise of the law of attraction until The Secret came out. So when The Secret came out, it was like, oh, you know what? Everything that I have been talking about, reading about, recording about, now it's mainstream. Now people out there are going to know about this thing, and now I can actually talk about it. Like
I'm
now
not
I
going to
can
seem like I'm so off the wall.
exactly. And so that's when I
Exposure.
really started really talking about it like on my YouTube channel. That's when I really started applying it with, manifesting my husband, manifesting some things, to come true in my business
Yeah.
and really, just putting it out there and putting myself out there as someone who was well versed on this topic.
Yeah.
And, within a couple of years later, I was asked to do some public speaking engagements about it. And then I, decided to write a book about it because I wanted to like really have like, okay, well, what is my what is my, like my real philosophy about this, and really put together my own signature system on really how have I been making the law of attraction work, because there's just so many different people out there that have a different take on it. And so that's when I really, it was about 2005 to between 2005 and 2008 is when I really started, um, making myself known about that. And my book didn't come out, I think, until it was like 2018,
So that was your
2017.
first book you published
That
in
was my first book
2018?
on
Because you
that.
published like what, like 6 books?
I have like five
That's
books now.
amazing.
Yeah, one every year since then.
Yeah, I was so excited to talk to you, and I realized that I'm in the process of publishing my first. So,
Oh,
it's going to be coming out on November 11th, and
oh,
so
wow.
like, yeah, seeing everything that you've done, I'm like, oh, there's hope that maybe I'll want to write another one.
Yeah,
But like,
absolutely.
I can only imagine like what the process was like when you were certified in 1999 to do hypnotherapy, and you're creating these recordings. Like, what were you recording on, and how were you creating those things back in
Oh my
99?
goodness. Yeah. And then there was the website too. And
Oh, clunky, right?
it was all funky back then. I mean, first of all, I started out making cassette tapes. I
I'll
mean,
bet.
cassette tapes were still a thing. My very first project, right out of hypnotherapy school, because they had us actually do a project on creating our own recording. And well, of course, I didn't just make one recording. It was like a full-on 12 session program on stress management. And I
Overachiever much?
a little bit with a booklet. And I actually polished it up, and I got it like professionally made and professionally produced at this, disc makers. And I had 300 of these little programs. And I ended up, when I left Las Vegas for Florida, I made 300 of these. I still had 150 of these left um, in my, in my studio when I left, and
Better
just,
than 299.
yeah, had to throw them away. But anyway, getting back to that was they were cassettes. Then of course it was CDs. Then of course, now CDs are pretty much obsolete. Now it's downloads, and even downloads are almost like, it's not that they're obsolete, but they've become more obsolete for my business because now it's my apps.
Okay.
And so now everything that I do is all in my my HypnoCloud app, which is now soon to be my Believe app.
Very cool. When did
Yeah.
you launch your app?
So I launched the very first app. It's been kind of a process, but I launched the very first like mini, it was like a mini app, and then I developed a whole bunch of mini apps after that, and then I just put them all in one app. And so the very first app that I launched was in 2015. And and then, the main HypnoCloud app, that was probably about 5 years ago. And then I'm getting ready to launch Believe. Oh, fingers crossed, October 30th.
That's not too long. I bet you're
Not
busy.
Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating though. So you got into apps before you were publishing your books.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Very cool. Do you feel like one or the other has a greater impact on things business-wise for you?
They both really support each other. The people that get into my app, they get into the world of Victoria and they find out about my books. And then of course the people who practical law of attraction, I think that's actually been it's had a pretty big impact. um the people that read that, they sign up for some worksheets and things like that, and then they get to find out about my app. And I do mention, I do mention my app at the end of the book. So
Sure.
there's a little cross promotion going there. So
Of
it's like,
course.
which came
Awesome.
first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know which one actually has a bigger impact. They really go hand in hand, and they really do support each other. And I'm really trying to get myself to a little bit more of a streamlined process, to where, like there's going to be like a Believe book and a Believe app, and everything's going to be like one signature name: Believe, Believe, Believe.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome. Love
yeah.
that. Um, so your most recent book, if I'm looking at this correctly, is My Cat's Secret to Manifesting. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, that sure is. I was looking to see if he was around, but he's not.
That's awesome. It's unlocking law of attraction with your magnetic power.
Yeah.
What which book was like the most fun for you to write out of all the ones that you've done?
Well, your first book, in my opinion, it's almost like your first love. It's like that book really was the most fun, because there was still the there was still the wonder of, like, how is it going to do? Is it going to be well received? Are people
Sure.
really going to
I'm living in that mysterious space right now.
yeah, exactly. Embrace it. Embrace it. And know that it will. Like, I mean, obviously you want to use, like, I used a lot of law of attraction in not only writing the book, but in marketing the book and getting the right people, getting people in my end, some of the industry leaders to endorse my book and write the foreword for my book. And so all of that was really fun. It was really fun for me. But I also have to say that writing the book with my cat definitely was the next, like, next in line, because it's almost like I don't know if any book will ever top writing your first book, and maybe it will, but writing the book from my cat's voice, my cat's perspective, and I was just laughing along the way, and like hearing like just some of the things coming out, like as I was channeling his little personality, and his perspective on how he's been watching me, but then these are things that cats have always known, and it just is, came to the surface for him as he's watched me. And his take on the law of attraction is a little bit more yin, versus my take on the law of attraction had been a little bit more yang, so meaning, like, his is all about attracting and really being more present, and really raising your vibration through allowing, and through really, it's more of a being,
Yeah.
and all the things that you do to grow yourself, practicing more presence and inner peace, and um and just working more on your personality, your magnetism,
Right.
and all of that. And, like when you're really going for it, and you're really intending and you're really putting all that stuff out there, that's great. And that does attract, but I think you really need both. And so this, I think, if I was to tell somebody like what order to read things in, read Practical Law of Attraction first, but then you want to, get into the My Cat's Secret, because that's really going to fill in a little bit of the missing feminine energy. Even though he's a male cat, he has a lot a lot of feminine energy that he brings to the table. So,
That is so cool. What was the writing process like for you for any of your books? Like, what kind of time did it take you, or what things did you implement that made the process easier, or what kind of support did you gain?
oh, that's a great that's a so yeah. You would think that it would actually take a lot longer. I would say the whole time frame, of writing Practical Law of Attraction was about 9 months, from,
Mhm.
like, literally sitting down and, scoping out the chapters and the sections of the book, to actually launching it. It was about a 9-month, process. Now,
Mhm.
as I look back, I mean, like, all the information that's in that book, it took me 20 years to acquire, that knowledge. And so it's interesting because, once you actually sit down and you organize and structure what the book is going to be about, then you realize, oh my God, I've just got so much information. And it actually turned out that half the time, of writing was really editing and, taking the book from double the size that it was and shrinking it down to a little bit more of a consumable read.
Yeah.
One of the helpful things that I did get, though, was, I ran across Michael Lozier, who wrote, another Law of Attraction book,
Mhm.
and, the original one, just called The Law of Attraction. Mine's called
Yeah.
Practical Law of Attraction. But we had a really special podcast interview that resulted in having a little after hours chat where I had told him I was writing this book. And he, being an author, being a very, successful author, he was able to share a lot of insights with me that I would have never applied or thought about had I not had that conversation with him.
Yeah. That's
And
exactly why
part
I'm so excited to have authors like you on as I'm getting into this process, because it's like it's so meaningful to me right now.
Oh, it was so insightful. And one of the things that it was seemed like really a basic thing to think about, but one of the things that he helped me to do to really try to understand the length of the book and how to, like, really just get it finished, because it can seem so overwhelming. It seemed like, when you're typing on your computer on this 8.5 by 11, letter size paper, you're not really understanding how many pages that's really filling up, because a book is
Yes.
6 by 9, or it might be 5 by 7, might be so many different sizes. So what he actually had me sort of start with the end in mind, and, like, one of the things that he suggested that I do is, limit it to a certain number of pages, to make it easier to mail, to make it lighter and easier to mail out. Like, if the book, and my book barely comes under the 1 pound mark, but if it was even like one or two more pages, it would go over the 1 pound mark. And that just, if you are going to mail any copies out yourself, which mostly Amazon sends everything out, but, like, when you're think about, like, whenever you're shipping these books anywhere,
Yes.
they cost more to print if they're bigger. They cost more to ship, and, everything. And so for your first book, he said, "You want to keep this thing under 150 pages." Well, that didn't exactly happen. It's like 269 pages.
But you still kept it under a pound.
I did. I still kept it under a pound.
Well, that's
Just
exciting because that means mine should be under a pound too, hopefully, because I'm like right around 200 pages.
yeah, there you go. And it's six in the now it's, and then he
Mine is six
also
by nine formatting.
in the 6 by 9 formatting. And then, yeah, and he also it was like it was interesting because there's actually all these nothing pages in there. There's these like little chapter markers, and section markers and then sometimes you're repeating the information like when I give some information here in the first part and then I'm like, well, now you do it and here's an exercise and here's the worksheet for you to do this. Well, there's another page. Sometimes there's an illustration.
Right.
And the other
I
thing,
do love
because
though that now we can actually like give QR codes and we can give that stuff somewhere else where we don't have to make it actually part of the printed book.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Because if I actually had everything in there, oh my God, like all the hypnosis scripts and things like that, because I give away a lot of hypnosis scripts and those you have to,
They're
get
long.
go online to get and it's also a good way to get, people to get on your email list so you can follow up
Exactly.
with them and let them know about your courses and your other things that, and I think that's another really, really smart tip is taking your book, turning it into some kind of a training, turning it, obviously if you're a fiction author, that's probably not, going to be
Right.
very
Not quite as
feasible.
realistic.
But I've never really been into fiction. I don't read fiction. I don't write fiction. That's just like a whole other world for me.
Yeah, no, I think with personal development and self-help, it's great if it can support a way that people can go deeper with what they're learning in the book, for sure.
Absolutely.
And I noticed with your Practical Law of Attraction book, you also have an audiobook.
I
How was that
do.
experience for you recording the audiobook?
Being that's so second nature for me because since I've been, recording since, the late 1990s, it was just something I was really actually inspired to do and looking forward to do.
Me
And
too.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And, and then now what's kind of cool about it is, so you've got the Kindle and you've got the Audible. And when you have both of them together, one of the things I like to do is you can read fast. You can
Yes.
actually create like a multi-sensory experience. You can read and you can listen to the Audible at the same time.
Yes.
Um,
I always recommend that because I mean, I'm an ADHD entrepreneurial mom. So like for me, that's a great way for me to know that I'm really taking it in and processing it. And I knew that I was writing for the right audience with my book when people started asking me right when they found out that I was writing it, if there was going to be both versions.
yeah.
They're like, I need the Audible and the regular. And I'm like, I was more excited about getting into the studio to do the Audible than anything else. I can totally understand now that I've actually written the book, edited it, all that stuff, why people like, like Mel Robbins just do audiobooks and there's no actual book.
Oh, I didn't even realize she didn't
She
even
has
have
some that are just like made for Audible that are just,
yeah.
it's like the equivalent of a well put together podcast kind of a thing. But I'm like, that might be on the horizon for me because
Oh, for
it's a
sure.
lot. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I wanna I still haven't created the Audible yet for my secrets, my cat secret, because, it's like I'm sort of in a quandary between like, do I read it in my own voice? Do I read it, again, do I read it, but I read it in this voice that we have, like I don't know if you have any pets,
Oh
but
yeah, well you
all
just
of
heard
our
my dogs. My dogs, I think, knew that we were talking about your cat a little bit ago, and they were barking in the background. So yes, I have two dogs.
Well, I don't know if you guys we have these dialogues. They
Oh yeah.
go on and like they switch back and forth between Sebastian's voice and Velvet's voice and
Mhm.
Emerald's voice. We have like
Yeah, my,
constant
my older
dialogue.
dog is more like the voice of Eeyore, and then our younger puppy has more of like a spunky voice when we're talking. Like, yep, I get it.
Yeah, so so I didn't know if like, if I would just read it in that voice that we give I don't know if I could do that though for like hours on end. I would have to but anyway, so I still don't have an Audible book yet for him because I'm kind of like, well, do I want to get somebody like a little boy to read
Yeah.
it, because he has like this sort of little boy voice. I don't know. I'm still working on that.
Yeah, I guess just practicing reading it out loud a few times yourself and seeing what certain chapters sound like or what you do to them might be kind of a fun thing to play around with. But
Yeah,
I'll be excited to
definitely.
see what you do with that because that's definitely a different kind of project than just reading a book that's in your voice for
It
sure.
is. It definitely is.
That's awesome. What have you found is like the best-selling version of your book? Is it paperback, digital, or Audible?
I believe it or not, it's actually the paperback, which
Okay.
was super surprising to me. I really thought that I thought that the Kindle would be way, I mean, first of all, it's like a third of the price or something like that, even less.
It's immediate.
And huh?
It's immediate. You get it right away.
You get it right away, and and a lot, and then of course these days with Kindle Unlimited, I mean sometimes you don't it is available for Kindle Unlimited, so you don't even have to pay for it if you have a subscription to that. And so I was super shocked. That was one of the things, just being somebody myself, that I read everything on Kindle, and then second is Audible. Actually, my number one, just as a consumer, my number one media is now Audible.
Oh, it's always
Um,
mine. Yep.
yeah, I mean, because I can do other things, while
Yes.
I'm multitask.
Take a walk, take one of your hikes, whatever, and just still be
Exactly.
listening. That's
Exactly. But I
that's
found that it's actually paperback, then Kindle, then Audible, which is crazy. And but I get so many people that really, really do appreciate, the Audible version. And just it just makes your life so much easier to just listen to it.
absolutely. That's so cool. So outside of your app and your courses, are your courses on your app?
So my new app is gonna have some of my intro courses, like any of my courses that are like say, up to $47, where they're just a few modules. Those will be in my brand new app, believe. So I'm gonna have like the visualization course, the gratitude course, learn self-hypnosis step-by-step course. And then there'll be some more new courses that I'm going to create, just that are exclusive in the app. But then like my major courses, my big course, like my big manifest abundance process, that's like a $2,200 course, that is a standalone. Like, so
Yeah.
my bigger courses, anything that's like over like a big, like 5-hour type of course,
Hmm.
those are going to be just exclusively on my course website.
Okay. Cool. So you have the course website, you have the app, you have your books. Do you do any like one-on-one work or anything else these days, or how else are
I
you working with people?
I do. I do a little bit of one-on-one work, coaching as well as hypnotherapy. I do not market for it at all. Like I don't like seek it out. And so any work that I do, it's all just people that have just, randomly found me through my website, my
One of those
app,
other things.
all the other things. It's like they just want, and so I make myself available for that. But it's just kind of like, I make myself available for it, but I'm not really seeking out, intending, for clients to come.
Gotcha. It's nice when something just lands in your lap.
It is. It really is.
It's that power of attraction. Where is the
Absolutely.
best place for people to find you and what you're up to?
I would say for now, the best place would be just to go to my website, victoriamgallagher.com. And from there, basically all the things you can find you'll be able to find my apps, my courses, my books, work with me one-on-one, my podcast, all my social media channels, everything.
Very cool. Anything that you'd like to leave our listeners with today? Any
You
last
know what?
points or
I just like to, leave people with, just from like my, the law of attraction standpoint, manifesting success, that, if you have a dream in your heart, if you have a desire that have been thinking about, but you just are not taking action on it, or you're just not sure about it, I just like for you to know that, I mean, if you have that dream, it is meant for you. It is, you would not have that desire, that dream, if it wasn't meant for you.
Yeah,
So, with the power of the mind, anything is possible. Believe it, dream it, achieve it, you can have it.
I love it. We can use the power of our mind to keep becoming more me and continue this journey for all of us.
A
It's
hundred
beautiful.
percent.
Thank you so much for being here with me today, Victoria. I really
Oh,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thank you so much. This has been my pleasure. Very, very nice to get to know you. And I look forward to getting to know you on my podcast.
Wonderful. Looking forward to that as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.